I will
no.
say, when I earned my car, when I earned my Lexus and had a team of hundreds of people, all of a sudden they went, "Oh, you have a business." When that change occurred, July 15th of 2024, and what's really interesting, because it was chaos, absolute chaos, because they took our teams away from us, which literally dropped my paycheck by 85%.
Welcome to the Fear Forward CEO, the podcast for business owners who are ready to build trust, generate referrals, and scale with smart systems and AI. I'm Tonya Gossage, and each week we talk leadership, growth, relationships, visibility, and practical strategies that move forward with confidence. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Fear Forward CEO podcast. I'm Tonya Gossage, and I'm so glad that you're here for the podcast today. One of the things that I believe in with everything within me is that we grow faster when we're in a community, hearing from other people's stories. And today I want to do just that, share a story from someone that I deeply respect. And her name is Rose Cundall with Make Wellness. She is my leader, and she's here to make a difference, doing something to make a difference with people who want to make a difference. And Rose, I have to tell you, that's me. She came from a corporate background in finance with GMAC with 18 years experience. She knows a whole lot about numbers, I can tell you, a whole lot more than I know about numbers. She knows a whole lot about people, leadership, sales, and wellness. Rose, welcome to the Fear Forward CEO podcast.
Well, Tonya, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. First of all, I just have to say I absolutely love you. And when I first met you, I knew immediately that you were somebody that I wanted to be good friends with and do life with and do business with, just because I just highly, highly respect you. So I'm glad to be here and glad to share with others.
Well, thank you. I think today is going to be a phenomenal conversation. I think we share a lot in common, from corporate to entrepreneurship. We're in BNI together. That's where I first met you way back in September. And we may possibly even be able to share a journey today. But let's go ahead and get started. Take me back, Rose, to a moment when you decided that you were going to build something for yourself. Just go right on into that.
Okay, so I had been with GMAC for over 18 years. Prior to that, I'd been at other financial institutions, and I was the senior vice president of operations. So I ran all their non-prime auto service pieces, and everything that was customer facing except credit. And my last 5 years of my career, I laid off over 200 people.
Wow.
And you get to a place where it really hurts your soul. And, and then I reached a place where I was one of the people being laid off, and I wasn't surprised by it, because I knew the numbers. I was over operations. I had all the people. It was that story of, I had just turned 50, and you reach that place where they're like, okay, we can get somebody for half your age and half the price. So I knew the numbers. I knew exactly what it was. But what it also did, so for me, because my husband stayed home with our children, he started staying home when our oldest was born. And so he had been a stay-at-home dad for over 20 years. And for us, it was that place of, I knew I wanted to make a change. It was that fear of, okay, how do I do that? Because I had the insurance, so I could have gone and gotten another corporate job, or I could have moved in a different direction. And I really wanted to move in a different direction, but it was really scary, because I'd done the same thing for a long, long time, and I was really good at it. And you go, but I also knew if I really wanted to make a change, I needed to do it now. And you go, can you start over at 50? But that's exactly what I did. I started over at 50, and a friend of mine had been trying to connect with me, to talk to me about an opportunity that she had started in about 18 months before that. And I had dodged her, ditched her. I'd say, yes, I'd come, and then I wouldn't show up. So if you're an entrepreneur and you've ever experienced that, of people ghosting you, don't feel bad. I ghosted her 35 times before I finally said yes. So on the 36th time I said yes, I would go I would go somewhere with her. And, but what I saw was when I went to that lunch, I saw something that really spoke to me. That the ability to have freedom. I looked around the room, and the people in that room were professionals. They were people I knew from church. They were people I knew from, other businesses and all of that. And I was like, wow, okay, there's something here that I need to learn more about. And so, so it gave me that enough courage to say, okay, yes, I want to learn more. And that's when, we went further, and I have, and of course it was a direct sales business, which was really scary to me, but I had one of my sisters who had done direct sales before. So I reached out to her saying, hey, am I crazy? Do I just be committed or what? And she's like, let's look at it. She was actually coming to Little Rock because our oldest was graduating from high school. And so she met with me with, my friend that was going to be my leader. And she's like, Rose, we got done with that meeting and we left, and I'm thinking she's going to go, okay, get your resume dusted off and go do your stuff. And she went, okay, so here's the deal. We're going to go back home and we're going to look at this. And if it's what I think it is, you're getting in and I'm getting in underneath you. And wow. I went, what? That is not the response I expected. But what a gift. What an absolute gift it was. It really was. It changed my life in incredible ways. And it pushed me to my limits at many places along the way.
Wow. So, number one, that's phenomenal. So, but did you have any fears, Rose, going into that? Because it sounded like, as you listened that day, you and your sister both, it sounded like it was, sometimes people use the words too good to be true type thing. But were there any fears or worries that were in your head at that point in time?
Oh, absolutely. Because my sister can talk to a fence post. I mean, she can talk to everybody, and it doesn't bother her a bit. And for me, I mean, I'm very social, but my tendency is more on the introverted side, and that's my comfort zone. And so the idea of walking into a room of strangers and trying to strike up a conversation or calling people on the phone, I always said, I'm never doing sales. That's what I said in corporate. I was like, oh, those sales guys, yeah, I am never doing that.
I said that too.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm looking at doing that. What am I doing? And when my sister said, you're getting in and I'm thinking, what have I just said yes to? But there was also the dread of what I knew about corporate and where I knew corporate America was going. It was about outsourcing, it was about shrinking, it was about downsizing, and it was one of those things that I didn't want to have that kind of negative impact on people's lives anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's what I told my husband. I said, I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And so there was a balance of the dread or fear of what I would be going back into versus a new fear.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that for just a minute, because I've experienced something very similar to you. I actually got out, I believe, before I would have been cut. Culture changing. There actually weren't any cuts before I left. But like you, I saw it coming. And so I went to my boss and I said, I believe things are fixing to change around here. Oh, no. Yeah, I think things are about to change. And so it wasn't long then. He was like, how do you know all of these things. And I know people really well. I really can judge people if I use that word. But it wasn't long after, I left, he left. He actually left first and then I left because he did find out that was actually what was about to happen. And it wasn't long after that, then 400 people were cut. But when you see that the culture's changing, there's downsizing, all of those things, replacement with younger people, half or a fourth salary cuts, or they replace with someone a fourth of your salary, that's just huge. And when you see that people become numbers versus customers, or we're looking at how can we raise the fees and we're not able to take care of the customers anymore, you and I aren't like that. We're very relationship oriented, and that's what means so much, And so I think I want to ask you, was there somebody, and maybe even who was going to be your leader because she didn't give up on you? She asked you 35, 39 times. And I would say the same with you when you came to me. From September to December. But who was it that believed in you before you believed in yourself, making this change into this new industry for you?
Well, that's a great question. And so it was twofold. It was my sister, Susan, and it was my sponsor, Dina. And my sister, Susan, was the very first person after I got laid off. She was one of the first phone calls I got. And she called me and said, "Congratulations, you just got your life back."
Wow. That gives me chills. You just got your life back.
And I'd had a major health crisis the year before I got laid off. And you just know it's time to change, but then sometimes it's hard to step. I'm very loyal, and I'm very loyal to my people, and it was hard to leave people. And so it's one of those things where God shows you the door, and then he bolts all the windows and doors shut so you can't come back in. And so Susan was a super huge supporter of me, and then Dina. And so both of them, in those probably the first 9 months of my business, I tried to quit probably 6 times. And at various points, Dina would be like, "No, you just put on your big girl panties and we are doing this thing." And I was like, okay. But it pushed me. And part of it, and you know me, I'm a very faith-based person. And I knew for certain that God was calling me in this direction. And so part of what helped me to overcome that fear was to look at it differently. So instead of making it about me, I went, okay, why? I made it about, I said, okay, God, what is it that you're trying to teach me at 50? Because clearly you're trying to move me in a different direction, and I just need to let go, and I need to follow what you're telling me to do. Mm-hmm. And so that helped me. That kind of helped break down that barrier of it's not about me and I'm scared and I don't want to make a phone call. It was more about me going, okay, show me how I need to grow and how you plan on using me. And once I did that with the support of those 2 women, it made all the difference.
I love that. I've had people reach out to me before and say, "I just got terminated," or "I just got fired," using those words. And I'm like, no, you just got a new opportunity.
Yeah.
All in how we look at it. Because like they said, or your sister said, you just got your life back.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Absolute
freedom.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
Yes.
So when you made the decision to go with this new opportunity outside of your sister, what did people say to you?
So what's really interesting, I'm going to start with that. When I decided to go to the first one, which was a direct sales business. I'm one of my sisters, because I got 3 sisters, and one of my sisters, she was the CFO of a hospital at the time. She had me send my resume to her because she was going to look at it. And then the next thing I know, she's sending my resume out. because they were so taken aback. Susan was really the only support in my family, my husband, because they were like, you got to go get a job. You got to go get a corporate job.
Oh
I will
no.
say, when I earned my car, when I earned my Lexus, and had a team of hundreds of people, all of a sudden they went, "Oh, you have a business.
Oh,
You
what did they
you."
think it was?
I don't know. You don't know. My brother-in-law said, he said, "I thought you were nuts, but clearly you showed us all how wrong
Mhm.
we were." And so, and for me, when it'll be almost 2 years ago, that opportunity started to wind down. Again, that whole fear cycle starts of, am I in the right place? Do I need to stay here? Is it time to move? What do I need to do? And when that change occurred, it was July 15th of 2024. And what's really interesting, because it was chaos, absolute chaos, because they took our teams away from us, which literally dropped my paycheck by 85%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, and I had 250 customers. So I didn't have a small customer base. I had a huge customer base, and it still dropped my pay because I still had my customers. And but what's interesting is, there was just a lot of noise. And again, I did the same thing, but this time I listened, and it didn't take me 9 months. And I just asked God, I said, show me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do. And he did. And we'd gotten an opportunity to look at Make Wellness. And initially my first response when my friend Laura introduced me and brought me in to take a look at it, it was 5 days after we had heard about the change that was going to happen with Rodana Fields. We looked at that opportunity, and I was like, wow, I did peptides. I don't know anything. I'm not a science girl. I'm a numbers girl. And all that fear bubbled right back up. And I went, I just don't think this is for me. And then I really hard had to pray a couple days later. And when I heard God tell me, I didn't make you to be comfortable.
Mm.
And the only thing I was looking at other similar companies to the one I had just left, and I was looking at corporate. So I was looking at everything that was comfortable. And the only one that wasn't comfortable was Make Wellness. So I knew exactly where he wanted me to go.
Yeah, wow. So, okay, before we go forward, let's back up just a little bit. So, you were in corporate with GMAC, you worked your way up. You had to go through many steps of fear to get there, to reach success. You had to leave there. You joined a friend after 35 times,
36.
36 times of being approached, joined her through fear and encouragement from your sister, worked your way all the way up there, got your Lexus. Two Lexus?
I think the one I have now was my fourth one.
So you got 4 Lexus through that company, worked your way up to the top through fear again to success. Then chaos happened again, and you were faced with having to leave or lost 85% of your income.
Yeah, couldn't stay. I had to be able to make that up.
Yes. So then here you are, stuck, faced with that again, and then had to make another change. But God intervened, took care of that for you. Wow. So, okay. So today, there's many, many, many people, a lot of CEOs listening today that have been stuck in their business anywhere from 3 to 10 years. They're past that startup stage. They feel stuck today. And looking back, I want to ask you, was there a moment in your journey where you were stuck, and probably it's right here where you are having to make this decision? How did you get unstuck, having to move now into Make Wellness. They're brand new and you're coming in. How did you get unstuck, moving from this direct sales where you lost everything, pretty much everything, 85% of your income, and you had to make all of that up? How did you get unstuck moving into Make Wellness? I know you had to be scared out of your shoes. What happened to get you totally unstuck and ready to go here with Make Wellness where you are today?
Well, so a good friend of mine, really, really good friend of mine, and it was some people that were on my Rodan and Field, were on my other team, my Rodan and Fields team, and we'd met up for coffee, and she said, as my dear friend Debbie Franklin, and she asked me, she said, Rose, if you could do anything, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time in about 3 days, 4 days, or maybe 5 days that I stopped and I really thought about it, because I wasn't even sure I wanted to stay in the industry. And I stopped and I said, I do exactly what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I love helping my customers. I love serving my customers. I love building a team. I'm a leader. God made me a leader, and it's definitely something I need to utilize. And I love helping people build their own businesses and help them grow and watch them flourish. And I said, so at that point, it made it easier because I had my resume together, and I went, okay, we can put that aside because I don't want to go back to corporate. And so I knew at that point it was trying to find the right home. And that's where, in the very first one I looked at, I was looking at other skincare companies, and there was one I was pretty interested in. And then my friend Laura that brought me into Make Wellness, she and I, she's like, we listened to that call, and she's like, I'm 85%. I know this is where I'm going. And I'm like, I'm just not there. I'm just not there. And then I just had so many people coming at me, come here, come listen to this, come look at that. And that was when I went into prayer. I literally got on my knees and I said, God, tell me where you want me to go. Because I knew if I asked and I truly listened, he would tell me, because he did the same thing with me in my prior deal. I just didn't like the answer he gave me. So I kept asking the question in different ways. Exactly. Big 2x4 upside the head. And this time I knew if I listened, he would tell me. And he told me the exact same words he told me when he sent me to Rodan and Fields. I didn't make you to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And out of all the things I was looking at, that was the only one that made me uncomfortable. And I knew why, because it just was different. It was not what I had done before. I was learning a whole new product. It was a brand new startup company from ground zero. I mean, when we looked at that first meeting, we had to sign a non-disclosure before we could even hop on the call. And wow. So 'cause they weren't even, at that place. But on July 15th, when my company did their announcement, we did pre-launch on August 1st. And on August 1st, I was the 431st affiliate in this company.
That's so awesome. So awesome. So what did you have to stop doing, I guess, when you got beat up by the 2x4 to move forward? I mean, what really got you to make that move, to move forward? It was the quality of the people that I was meeting that had come, number one, that had come to put this company together. And number two, the quality of the people, because there were a number of people that came from my prior company. There were people that came from other companies, because other companies were doing the same thing at that same time frame. I mean, there was multiple companies that did the same thing at that same time frame. And so it's that quality of the individuals that were there. And on top of that, everybody was helping each other. Mm-hmm.
And to this day, 18 months in, everybody's still helping each other.
Yes, they are.
I mean, you've seen it.
I
It's
see it. Yes, and I love it.
incredible. And so for me, those were some of the reaffirmations that I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point there were people. So I started at ground zero. It was me. I signed up. I was my first of, but the interesting thing was during that window, as we started talking to people, there were multiple people that I had worked with in my prior company and other places that are like, I want to join you.
Mm-hmm.
You helped me even when I wasn't on your team. I want to be with you, because I know you're going to help me do this. And so by the end of, we started pre-launch August 1st, and on October 28th is when we launched. And at that point, I'd have to go back and look at my numbers, but I think we ended up with like 450 people that signed up. Now, not all of them continued to do the business. Many became customers, but it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And at that point, I didn't have time to be fearful because we were moving so fast trying to learn everything that you just are like, oh my gosh, we've got to learn this, and we've got to know what we're doing. So it kind of took care of itself. I had people ask me, how did you pivot so fast?
Yeah.
And my only answer I could give them was God.
Yeah.
Because he told me where to go. And I finally, for the first time in my life, listened.
Yes. Yes.
And said yes. And said, okay. At 60, I learned something in 12 years. At 62,
Yes.
I said, yes, okay. Yes, I'm on my way.
Oh, and I love that about you. Yeah, I'd love it. So as you can see, we've had somebody join us here. He was about to start barking, so I had to put him up here in my chair.
That's all right. I got one behind me too, so we're good.
Yes. I'm afraid he's going to start barking at any point.
Yeah.
So I love, since the podcast is about Fear Forward, I always love to ask my guest about fear forwarding. Can you share a time when you did something, whether it's in any of your three positions, that you did something that just really scared you, that literally changed everything for you in your career?
Yeah, probably one of the things that resonates most with me was a period where I became that trusted source for everybody. I became the person that knew the numbers. I was the person that people came to. My team, came but not that, but my leaders came to me, but then their people came to me. And one of the best things I ever did, but one of the most challenging things was letting go. Pushing people to become leaders of their team. I was still there for them. I was still there for their team, but pushing people, encouraging people to to lean into their leadership and not rely on me as much, because you can only grow so big if you're doing it all. And so you have to be willing to let go of things. And so you have to I try to look at it and go, what's 20% I need to cut? It's not helping me get where I want to go, it's maybe not even helping my team get where they want to go. So what's 20% that I can cut that I can then pass on to others, delegate, help them lean into their leadership, because that's what you want. You want a team of leaders, because that's how you're going to grow something. Even in my corporate days, I wanted a team of vice presidents that were top notch, that I could trust and hand things off to and know that I didn't have to worry about it. Yes, I was there. Yes, I would help, but I couldn't be that person. And there's a bit of an ego there. You like that idea of, I'm everybody's go-to, but the problem is you start pigeonholing yourself to a place that you can't grow where you need to.
I love the way that you put that. And I have something I want to say so bad, but I'm not going to say it until I ask you this next question. What would have happened had you not started delegating like you did and thinking about that 20% that you needed to let go? What would have happened had you not, what would have happened to you had you not done it? Or your team?
Yeah, and let me give a good example. So, our team in Make Wellness in our first year did 1.2 million in sales. If I had tried to do all that, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have gone from 0 to 1.2 million in sales. You have to be willing to let go of things. You have to be willing, and you also have to be willing to look and to go, what are my skill sets, and what's Tonya's skill set, or what's Natalie's skill set? Because I don't need to be the expert for everything. Pair up with people and share those great skill sets that we all have, those gifts that we have, and because you can get a whole lot more done when you do that. And had I not done that, what would have happened is that growth would have been a fraction of that.
Yes, so true, so true. I work with CEOs all the time who are scared, Rose, to delegate. Such a bottleneck, and it's such a waste because they're afraid to delegate. And I even saw it in corporate some, but they're so scared somebody's going to do it better than they are. They're going to show them up, and they're going to look bad to their leader. And I tell them, hire people better than what you are, equal or better than you are. I always liked hiring people to do a job that I couldn't do, because that just makes you look good, makes you look better. Because when you hire people that do things that you can't do, that makes you a stronger team. And so, when you're delegating to people and you get more done, just like what you're saying. And I tell them, when we're trying to decide who to delegate to, that they say, well, they can't do it as well as I can. No, and they never will. But can they do it 50%? Well, great. Let's get them to 60% this week. The next week, let's get them to 70%. And when you get them to 80%, back out of the way and let them go. You got to start somewhere, but your company is never going to reach the potential that you want to get to if you don't delegate. And that's exactly what you've built and are building. That's what you built in your prior direct sales. I almost said the name, prior direct sales, or you wouldn't have been driving 4 Lexuses.
Right.
Your team helped you get there. Had you not delegated, it would have never, ever, happened for you.
Well, and the other thing that you learn very quickly too is, and they said this a lot in the beginning, and I'm like, this is nuts. They said the people that get you there are not the people that will keep you there.
Yes.
I'm like, sure they will, because you don't realize, but it's true. It's true. There'll be a few that stay, but they're, it's like I tell people all the time, you haven't even met all the people that you need to know yet.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many more people in front of you that you haven't even met.
That's
and
true.
They're going to be your next rock star. And once you start to realize that, because that's part of the problem people do too, is they hang on. They hang on to people. They hang on to, I need to support them. No, well, you need to match their steps.
Mm-hmm.
If they're crawling, you don't need to be crawling with them.
No.
If they're walking, you walk with them. If they're running, you run with them. But you know what? You don't drag them. I tell people all the time, let the walking dead alone. We don't need to drag them along behind us. Let them alone. You can love them. You can love them. You can be friends with them. You can do all that. But you have to move on. You have to be willing to let go, because if you're not leaving that space for the people that do need to come to you.
Mm-hmm. You always say something, and I'm not going to say it right, but it's basically, you're not going to ask people to do what you wouldn't do, but you always say it differently.
Yeah, I mean, I am a true believer of I am not I need to do the work too. I need to show you because not only do that's the other part about this industry is you also you're a leader, but you also have to continue to grow your own business.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lead by example and showing people that I can do that same work because whether I've been someplace in my prior company, I'd been there 10 years and I was still doing the work. I was still doing the tasks that helped make me successful.
Right.
And if you don't do that, anytime if you're not growing, you're going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not growing, you're going backwards.
You're someone who you want other people to mimic. You want other people to mimic you, so you're going to lead by example. And you set that example for sure.
Yes.
So what would you tell someone who is sitting on the fence of a decision out of fear right now? What would you say to them?
Well, again, if you're a faith-based person, number one, pray. Number one, ask God what He wants you to do. I tell people all the time, especially folks that are looking at this opportunity or looking, I tell them, pray over it. It's okay. Ask and see. But secondly, if it's something, if the fear is legit, if it's something where something doesn't feel right, it feels sketchy or something like that, that's a different fear.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a fear just because it's something out of your comfort zone, that's the right kind of fear. And you need to suck it up and you need to go, okay, we're going to step forward. Because, in my mind, I'm a decision maker. I've always been a decision maker because I can back up and say, okay, whoops, we need to adjust. I'm willing to adjust, but I'm not willing to sit in indecision. You need to make a decision and you need to go. Nobody's bleeding, nobody's dying. You need to move forward. But keeping yourself in that stuck position, what that does is that starts to radiate throughout your whole organization. Mm-hmm. And that's the kiss of death. You don't want to do that. You don't want to stagnate your organization.
Not at all. Rose, let's talk about referrals and growth just a little bit. How important are relationships and referrals to your business and to your growth?
So relationships are everything to my business, absolutely everything. And that's one of the joys that I love about this industry because, you know this from corporate. I would get home at night and been in, 8 meetings and being a head of operations, having somebody yell at me because a customer was upset, whatever it may be. And you just are like, I'm not even sure I like people anymore. That's how I felt at the end of the day. And I was like, when my kids were little, I'm like, go ahead and answer the phone.
I do not want to talk on the phone anymore tonight.
Talk to anybody. And so one of the joys that I found in this business and in my own business was I love talking to people. Mm-hmm. I love helping people. I love having a customer come to me and go, oh my gosh, Rose, I'm so excited. I am down, I've lost 4 pounds and I'm in a belt size. And we're
muscle.
Exactly. I got muscles, and for me, and then helping people grow their own business, especially people, because you and I both have been in business, but we have a lot of people on our team that aren't. And so being able to help people with that, to me, that is just the ultimate reward is to do that. So, so for me, just the opportunity to be able to get to do those things, and it fills me up. It absolutely fills me up.
It is. It's a great feeling. My kids are leaving for the beach tomorrow, and I gave some of my fund money to my son's wife and said, spend this on the kids at the beach. It's fun,
Yes.
It's just fun.
Yes.
The freedom money, and and I'll just throw this in here. This is not really podcast per se conversation, but now to get paid daily. Cha-ching every day. It's just a bonus,
And to get paid, so I know this it may not be to get paid on your team sales daily. I mean, that is unheard of. And one of the coolest things, because of we just launched a new system in Make Wellness that is an AI generated tool that our corporate people designed and built. And so just to give an example, I had someone last night message me and say, hey, here's where I'm at. I'm a little bit away from hitting my goal of the level she needed to be at to maximize her pay. Is it worth it for me to do it? And it ended up making a difference. She was going to have to pay a couple extra $100 and order something, but literally she went from earning $200, and I could see it. I could project it. It wasn't even, she didn't even have to do it. I could tell her what she was going to make, and she went from earning $200 to $1,219.
Wow.
And so as a businesswoman, she made a business decision to spend $200 to make
$1,200.
Yeah.
That's so phenomenal. I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. So relationships open doors.
Relationships open doors. And that's, for me, that's the key is I love building those relationships.
Yeah.
Because that's where the magic really happens. And that's where also you get people, I've watched you do it, Tonya, where you help people grow into that best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And that to me it's priceless to be able to help people do that.
Yeah. It's just so phenomenal. So as we, start to wrap up, we could go on for hours. I could go on for hours and hours with you. I haven't even got through my whole list of questions with you. So like I said, this could be a 2-hour podcast, but what is something, Rose, that you got wrong about growing a business early on that you know a lot more about now that you feel if you could go back, you could do much better? If
I had come out of the gate in my last business the way I came out of the gate in this business, there is no question. I was in the top half of the percent in that other company. I could have been at the top. I mean, I could have been, much, much further along. But part of it is you also though have to grow through some of that stuff. And some of it for me was, there were a lot of things I had to get rid of, like what was my title, my senior vice president title, that was a part of my identity. And if you're out there and you're a CEO or you've got, you're a senior vice president or senior, you understand that, who you are as a business, as I was as a businesswoman, was a lot about who I was mentally. And so, letting go some of those things, it took me, like I said, probably 6 to 9 months to let go of, but I think also though I had to go through that experience because it set me up for this one. Mm-hmm. It allowed me to approach this one very differently. And that's the difference is I saw, and don't get me wrong, I'm so happy with what I accomplished over here, but everything I did over there set me up to do. And if I had hung on to all that old stuff like that, like I did the first time, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now at Make Wellness. And I'm so thankful that I learned from all of that and was able to bring that into this business.
I love that. And I need a podcast just on that because a lot of that is mindset. And I need I need a podcast just on that, because I think there's so many people stuck in that. And I think that, and you may be the right person for that. And it might even be, that might be a podcast for 2 or 3 people where we just collaborate on that topic.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do a podcast like that where I have 2 or 3 people that just collaborate on a topic, and it might be that, because I have conversations with people that can't seem to get through that have either want titles, they've lost titles, and they're stuck and can't get their growth trajectory in place because they're stuck there.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to do that with you, because I'm with you. I talk to people all the time that, like you, because when people know you've been laid off, they, sometimes call, and you got to let go of that.
You gotta let go.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is once you finally let go, you realize you were holding yourself back.
Your identity is not tied to that. Create yourself a whole new identity and walk in that new identity.
Yeah.
Because you are who you think you are. When I built my business, I created my identity when I created my business. I was no longer who I was in corporate. I had a new identity.
Right. And you're right. It is all about the mindset, and recognizing it. I'm just that person. You can be happy or you can be sad. And it's a whole lot easier in my mindset to be happy than it is to be sad.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, let's figure out how we work through that, and let's bring that education of what we did forward, so that we can get through the next one even faster.
Absolutely. And so one of the questions I had was, so you saying that is, what do those mistakes cost you? It can cost you your growth and your scaling and all of those things. And oftentimes we tie that. I mean, it degrades our confidence and our self-worth, but we're tying it to a person who did that to us oftentimes. We're tying it to somebody that don't even matter.
Yeah. Well, you're giving them a power that they don't deserve anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to take that back and take that
enemy.
away.
It's the enemy who is trying to destroy your mind, and you got to let that go.
Yes.
Stomp on his head.
Yes, exactly. But it's, to your point, had I not moved as quickly as I did, there are people that are currently with me on this journey that would have been with somebody else, because somebody else would have approached them and they would have gone, and they would not be where they're at today. And so that is the difference, because we were in a very particular time frame of people being available, and the opportunity to help bring some of those along with you. And so if I had been still stuck over there and been still wallowing in it, I would have missed all that.
Okay, 2 more questions and we're going to close. What is one thing that every entrepreneur or CEO, business owner, whatever we want to call them, should do differently starting tomorrow?
So, to me, the one thing that they need to start doing differently tomorrow is really look, like we talked about, at what 20% isn't serving you. What 20% is something that you can delegate? What's 20% that you can get rid of altogether? I did a move this past month that I got rid of some stuff that I was doing toward the end of the month that, it wasn't serving me in the way that I was using my time. So I cut it. I just flat cut it. And it was hard. It was hard for me not to go back and do some of the normal things that I do, but I went, I don't have time to do that because with our new clear path, there's a different direction of focus, and I need to be doing that path right now. And
Yeah.
so, so I would encourage people, look hard at yourself in where you're not delegating or where you're not doing the activities that you need to be doing, the ones that are more important. And it's time to figure out, how do I get rid of that other 20%?
Even if you love to do it, you need to look at it and decide. I've been doing the same thing. I'm in some leadership roles, and I'm thinking, how is it serving me? The question is it making you revenue? Is it revenue producing activity? And if the answer is no, it's out the door.
Well, and I will say the one that I did away with was some revenue producing activity, but it wasn't enough revenue in comparison to the time that I would spend.
And that's a very good point. It's a very good point. But for many, they're time wasters. They're time wasters because they have imposter syndrome, and they're spending time in areas avoiding working on revenue producing activities, and so they need to get rid of those things.
Yep.
So, Rose, where can people find you? Whether it's on social,
Yes. Yeah, so the best place to find me is definitely on social, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I mean, Tonya will tell you I'm not as good on social as she is. She's helping me with that, but that's a great place to connect with me. And even if I can, if there's a question you have or something that you'd like to share, or you've been where we've been, we would be happy to visit with you about that. But that's usually going to be the best place to find me. But also, we can throw out, Tonya can throw out her Make Wellness site. That's where you need to go find Tonya, because she is awesome and she's one of my top leaders, and anything that comes out of this, I'm going to send her way anyway. So,
Rose, you don't have to do that.
Yes, I do.
See what a leader she is? She's phenomenal. Rose, thank you so much for being here. But if you want to send Rose a DM, or if you want to connect with her on social, you can find her on Instagram or Facebook under Rose Cundall. And this has been real, practical, honest. Again, thank you for showing up and giving my community something that they can use. Rose, this has been very, very good. And for all of you listening, if you did get a takeaway, please put it in the comments. I will answer those, respond to them. And again, it's all about fear forward. It's all about the pivot, the decision to keep going. And so glad that you've been here. And so until next week, continue to build trust, make your connections count, and again, fear forward. We will see you again next time. Bye.